Hello, beautiful vegans. Welcome to Empowered Vegans, the show that inspires and empowers vegans to make a big difference on this planet and for yourselves. I'm Mariquita Solis, vegan empowerment coach, and we're coming to the end of the year. And so we're really welcoming in 2024. I know we've probably had a big holiday. So let's take some time just to settle down. Maybe we've eaten a lot of cookies, and that's why we're here talking to Rey Ortega, the mad cookie guy. Ray is joining us, and he's founded the Alternative Baking Company in 1994. 1997, he founded Sunflower Baking Company. He's going to be giving us some tips and some strategies and letting us know how everyone can go vegan and how we can turn our lives around from chronic diseases. So and there's JJ. She's saying hi, JJ. And everyone, let us know where you're joining from. Yeah, and you're going to be on JJ's show, I think.
Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of podcasters. Believe me, in 1994, I was feeling pretty lonely. But now it's not, it's a different kind of lonely. But it's good, though, because and what I mean by that is, it's the funny thing is about having a vegan friends and what I like to call an extended family is they're all over the place. They're literally all over the world, but because, I have my set of people here in Sacramento, but very few. So in 1994, when I became vegan, I was pretty much alone. I was just like, wow, it's that meme of if you want to lose friends, become vegan. It couldn't be any more true. Have you seen that before?
No, but that's
when
funny.
I saw that. So through the years, it's I think even a comedian says, there's a comedian there. He said, if you want to lose friends, just become vegan, or just tell them you're vegan, and then you'll lose all your friends. And I think that's the interesting thing is that basically parts the waters. When I first started, I became vegan for health reasons because I was just a sick child and I never understood why I was sick until I started reading about it. So when I started,
how old were you then?
When I started reading medical books on my own, which were very difficult medical books, black and white, I was probably about 12 or 13. So when I started, I was trying. I was a very curious child. I always find that I was kind of like one of those kids who like to take things apart and put things back together kind of thing. I was just super curious of how things worked and were made and what made them tick and function. I was building stuff as a child, but you as a kid, you don't know what you're doing. We don't know what we're doing as kids. We just kind of, I think oddly enough, I think your spirit just kind of takes you everywhere, And so I was, as a sick child, I was like, oh my gosh, my brother was not as sick as I was. And I have my reasons of why I believe I was sick. But when I started reading the medical books about just everything, I actually learned about human anatomy, in particular, diseases, oddly enough. I found that I learned pretty quickly on and tried to understand what I could and could not read, or because the technical words that they use, I could never, as a 12 or 13-year-old child, understand. But I did understand the pictures, and then I did understand some of it, like bacteria and some of the simple words. And so I got in. My dad saw how fascinated I was over these books. And so I got he gave me a more layman's terms books when I was about 14. And those books have been my sort of like a vegan Bible kind of for me. And what I mean by that is I think that had I not had those books, it would have probably taken me longer to be vegan. And I will tell you, there's interestingly enough, between all of us as who have decided to take this turn, there is a clear division of why people have started to become vegan. One is for health, one is for animals. Now, I did not do it for the animals. I did not understand, because I grew up with backyard animals. I grew up with chickens, and my grandma was slaughtering, and my chickens and rabbits, in fact, from different sides of the family. When my dad he had 16 brothers and sisters. Therefore, she had to find a way to feed them. So she was even killing rabbits. So there used to be a shed in the backyard. And, I've unfortunately heard them being tortured at times. And it was scared me as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. The killing of the chickens, killing is just like, even though I kind of became, what's the word that I want? Immune to it, I think, in some ways. I grew up with, eating the pork and the chorizo and the steak and, all that stuff, never having the connection or understanding. But at the same time, oddly enough, I didn't know it was making me sick because I thought it was normal to be sick. I thought everyone like, oh yeah, this is why they make Pepto-Bismol. This is why they make Advil and Tylenol, right? So as I was, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. Where'd you grow up? Did you grow up in Texas?
Sacramento.
Oh,
Sacramento.
okay.
Sacramento, completely 100% Sacramento. And my family is from Texas, oddly enough, or they like to call themselves Tex-Mexicans. My mom's side, Texas Mexicans. So I have roots in Texas. So therefore, when I did my DNA, it's 23andMe, I discovered that I was Spanish and Native American, which I thought was, wow, I was like, weird. That's strange. I had no idea, but I was mostly Native American. No, mostly Spanish. I'm sorry, not Native American. So it was, as far as the culture goes, on the way that we decide to live, we are only taught by our family how to eat, how to treat animals, how to live, basically to survive. When you grow up with grandparents who have so many kids, my mom had 9 brothers and sisters, it's a survival thing. So and if I were to ever complain about the food on my plate, believe me, I would have probably got my butt whooped. I would have been shamed. I would have been yelled at. I'm sure I would have been completely embarrassed. But good thing I was, in some funny fashion, I was secretly trying to learn these things on my own because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was so sick. I was embarrassed that I had. So at the age of 16, I stopped eating eggs after learning all through these books about the digestive system and endocrine system. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell anybody? I have to stop eating eggs. So when you used to go to restaurants and stuff, this is a vegan. You go to the restaurants and you have to go like, oh, I don't want any cheese. And I always say, when I first started doing it, I was like, oh, because I'm on a diet. I used to always say, not because I'm vegan. I was embarrassed being a vegan. I was vegetarian. When I was vegetarian for about 8 months, 6 to 8 months. I lost 60 pounds when I first became vegetarian without even exercising. Didn't exercise,
Wow.
Didn't lift. It just came off. But you have to keep in mind, the only food that I knew of that at the time was Top Ramen, bread, and oatmeal. So when I went vegan, I thought, okay, the trick is to transition is to stay full or get full as fast as you can. Because I remember going up to the drive-throughs of Kentucky Fried Chicken and losing my mind, like just losing all control, looking at their board, like the biscuits and the gravy and the breast chicken. I used to love the breast chicken. My mouth's watering, unfortunately.
No, it's hard to break those. I mean, it's hard to break that addiction, right? I mean, I can understand how people are very addicted.
But what's funny is you have to decide on your own pain. Like so even if it's mental, if you're mentally thinking, I love the animals and I would never hurt an animal, and that's another funny thing is people who say, I have so many people who, I love animals, but they're like eating them. And I'm like, okay, that's strange. So I don't understand it. So that for me, I was like, so the way that I try to make people understand vegan is really a chemistry, the body chemistry, the physiology, the digestive system. And, it really comes from your spirit, so I've been fasting. I've fasted the last few years of 2 or 3, 4 days. My longest has been 4 days. but you know what? The interesting part about it is how you start as the spirit starts. You start to realize your spirit and your body are separate. You start to realize spirituality, the connection of who you are, what's driving you, why are you like having these desires, these of wanting the cravings, people. And that's another thing too. People are like, I crave meat. I'm like, you don't actually crave meat. You just think you want it because, you know, you're addicted to it, especially cheap people are fucked. You know, of course, I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell you how many people you said, I can't give up cheese. You know, you probably run into it. I still run into it every day. It's been 30 years. And I'm like, you know, because, you know, you walk into a room, you're that vegan who people start to become like, you know, then they're like, oh, you know, I only eat meat once a week. Oh, I've been trying to quit cheese. So you have every excuse in the book. And, you know, the one excuse I never hear is, oh, I never hear people saying, I love animals enough to stop eating them, sort of. I mean, I never hear, I wouldn't eat my dog or anything like that. I think it's just, it's a weird, but I always hear, I can't give up cheese. But I didn't know how cheese was processed when I started. And I didn't find out for about 2 years after I started getting my brain started functioning more. Everything, my whole dynamics of my world completely changed as my blood started to flow much more smoother and cleaner. And I'm telling you right now, everyone should at least try, see how you feel. Try being vegan for at least a week, 2 weeks, I think, you know. And you have to keep in mind that you can't be weak in some ways. You know, I think that as a strong Mexican family background kind of thing, I think I had to pull back from the people, pull back from my family. I had to pull back from really society in some ways to discover. And that's how you become lonely, sort of. Not lonely, but you're like, oh, I'm the only one who's doing this on the earth. I think am I the only person who this is happening to? You know, I just felt like okay, I've done this now. Now what? You know, I started doing this, and then when I became vegan, I lost another 35 pounds. So I lost a total of 95 pounds when I became. I was 295. I was huge. I had pictures, and I look back, and I'm not even the same person. It's not even this. I'm not even the same guy. How long have you been vegan for yourself?
I don't know. I was vegetarian in 95, then
Wow.
for a while vegan, then vegetarian, you know, kind of flip flop. So it's very hard to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find it? Do you still have cravings for it? This is your interview. I'm
I
interviewing
mean,
you.
you know, no, I mean, that's fine. Ask me any questions you want to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can understand. I mean, if I see things, I'll see something that I like, wow, I want that. And then I'll think there's a vegan version. So I'll have a craving for the vegan version because now it's different than it was back then. So, yeah, you know, I mean, yeah. Well, tell me, I want to know what did your family say when you went vegan? And how many people, and how many people in your family are vegan too?
None. How about that? How about my ex-wife is vegan. She's still vegan today. But I have but interestingly enough, so what happens is and you may have, I think a lot of vegans have discovered this. So what happens is you change this, you become this, you go into this vegan cult, okay? You go into a vegan cult, you have to join the cult first, okay? So, and you have to make it clear, this is a cult. I want you to join it, okay? You have to that because that's all of a sudden you know what's funny is I joke about it, but the seriousness is that they made me feel like I was crazy in some crazy cult. Like I'm changing my diet. I'm not going to have any animal products. So basically, I was mocked and laughed at for the most part, and you know, a lot of mocking. A lot of like, hey, look, I'm eating cheese and I'm eating meat, you know. But I used to be the guy in this huge family that would cut the turkey. I used to be the turkey cutter guy. I used to, and the ham cutting guy, I used to cut the turkey every year. I did it for every year up until I was vegan, and I was just thinking to myself the other day, I've been vegan longer than I've been a meat eater now. Because I was 30, 24, I think it was. Now I'm 56, so 30 years. So I'm like, shit, man, I'm doing okay. I'm fine. I gained weight when I got into the bakery business, unfortunately, only because and I tell people this, I eat more. I'm probably the guy, you never know anybody who's eaten more cookies than me. I have eaten thousands and thousands and thousands of cookies, but I'm still alive. My arms are still here. I'm still vegan. My body parts have not fallen off. So, but my family basically, I wouldn't say shunned me. Yes and no. But I made myself, because I was a kind of a big attitude, ego guy, I made it known that this is what it was going to be like. And you should be too. But when I first went out into the world, I probably did it the wrong way in some ways, where I was like, I found the cure. This is it. This is the world. I need to tell everybody. I wanted to tell everybody.
That's very normal.
I was like, oh my gosh, I found it. I know what's wrong. I know why the world is so messed up. And nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear, you know why? Because it's a personal choice and nobody wants their personal choices taken away from them, especially when it comes to food, their food choices and their own personal choices. So you can't, I always hear what's good for you is not good for me, or I'm like, nah, it's good for you too. And I really, so one of the other things that I started to do is I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I need to find some things that's substantial that people will understand a little bit more on a different level, and I actually went to the Bible for it. And I wasn't a Bible bumper. I grew up Catholic. But I was like, I need something. So I started thinking, I wonder if the Bible says anything about being vegan, and I'll be damned if it didn't. It did. It says it right then and there. God created us to be technically raw, vegan, and naked. So, I mean, so I thought that was weird. I thought, okay, God didn't invent clothes. And you know what? The funny thing about being vegan, one of the things that always come up in conversation is our digestive system in some sort, the way that we poop. I think the way that we poop, I'm sorry, people, the way that we poop is so important. And so one of the things that I just realized the other day is that God, our creator, the one who created us, did not invent toilet paper either. So I started thinking, there's some kind of weird connection how the creator of everything decided all these factors and how we were going to be made and what we were going to consume and how it was going to happen. But the one thing just yesterday, I thought to myself, God didn't create toilet paper. So I thought, that's weird. So I know I'm going to say something a little profound, and people, I need people to think about what I say when I say this. And now that I've gotten on the spiritual path, and I'm getting deeper and deeper into it. I think every day it's becoming more. One of the things I have come to kind of a conclusion with is the fact that I think that we were not really actually supposed to be eating food, so to speak, when we were created. I think we were just drinking. We weren't really eating. And the reason why I say that is because the nutrients and stuff that were around, I think, at the beginning of time, and everyone will tell you, if you look at any special, they'll say the water was different, the plants were different, everything was bigger, there was more oxygen in the air, and in the Bible, Adam lived 800 years, something like that. A lot of the people supposedly lived hundreds of years. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? How did these people live this long? Well, I'll tell you, it's I'm in the food processing business, and it's for me, I'm okay with still eating my cookies today. And people, that's another funny thing. People always ask me, so do you still eat your cookies? Are you sick of them? I'm like, I'm not sick of cookies. I cannot be sick of cookies. It's never going to happen. And keep in mind, from the ages of 16 to 22, for 7 years, I did not have any cookies. I did not have any hidden egg cookies. So when I stopped eating cookies at 16, I stopped everything. I dead stopped, no eggs, no hidden eggs, because eggs is and everything. When I decided, oh my gosh, then that's when I started getting mad. So this is my mad cookie guy theme. It's
Okay.
not. I thought it was. I was talking to Sandra about this, as you know, Sandra. I said, Sandra, I'm the pissed cookie guy, but it doesn't sound good. I'm pissed. I was pissed when I became vegan. I was so mad. I remember when I became vegan, and it's like something spiritual happened to me that turned on, and it said, sell all your shit, all the leather crap that you have, get rid of it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think the first weekend that I became vegan, I took all my leather couches. I mean, I'm not kidding. My leather shoes, my leather belts, my leather everything. I put it all on the lawn and slapped for sale sign. So I remember thinking, I don't want anything to do with this animal product stuff ever again for the rest of my life. That's how pissed I was. Now I was mad, and I think I'll be honest with you, I still carry that anger, and it's more of a, like, let's turn this negative anger into positive energy. That's what I'm about. I'm about, like, so now when I learned that, I started to realize this is a power. This is a gift that I'm getting from something spiritual. So, and I need to do something about it. So that's when I first started Alternative Bacon Company. I actually became vegan while I started Alternative Bacon Company at a co-op. I really distinctively remember even the last thing that I had a cheese. Of course, cheese is the last thing, we love cheese. Everyone loves cheese. So it was a pizza bagel was the last thing I intentionally ate, a cheese pizza bagel. And I remember looking at it. I remember staring at it thinking, this is the last time I'm going to do this to myself. Because what's funny is between the time I was vegetarian and vegan, I still didn't feel right. There was still something wrong. I thought I just felt like there was something wrong, and I had to figure it out. So I figured, what's the next step? I didn't even know what vegan was, really. I mean, I did and I didn't. I didn't understand, being the cult, my culture doesn't allow these types of things. And I had a girlfriend when I was 14 or 15, and she was 17, and she was lesbian. She told me she was both gay and vegetarian at the same time. And I lost my mind. I lost my mind, not because she was lesbian, because she was trying to take my meat away, my steak. She was trying to take my sausage away, and it just made me so mad. I remember yelling at her, and I was, I also think that my temper changed when I became vegan. I became less stressed, less angry. I started to be able to draw. I started to learn other languages just briefly. I started to, the politics of life started to become more clear. You just get a sense of clarity of what's happening, and so between the ages of 16 to 22, when I became vegan, I had transformed, not realizing who I was, what was really happening. I didn't know. I don't think until you start to experience it. Now, as an adult, I could probably think, oh yeah, I could probably do it now more so as somebody who's more control of my life. But I think that as a youngster, when you have no choice but to eat what's on your plate, you don't question what's happening to you. I told my mom a million times how sick I was. I told my dad a million times how sick I was. I was telling him I was in the bathroom all the time. I was sick all the time. But they don't know. Nobody knows but you.
What did they think was wrong? I mean, what did they think was wrong? What did the doctor say?
A lot. Well, first of all, I had gotten, I think it was Ritalin, that I had hyperactivity as a child. And I was like, I remember seeing the drugs, and I was like, oh, this is purple, pink, and white. On one side, it has a big R on it. I was like, I don't need to take these. It was just making me sick. I was like, I didn't want to do this. This is stupid. It's just something about, but I was maybe 16. I was like, oh, I was sick of it. So my parents, I can't say that they didn't care, but, I'll be honest with you. My dad wasn't around much, but I love my parents, but my mom left when we were 16. So we were on our own. My mom gave us a house and we were on our own. So we had to fend for ourselves, so to speak. I got a job when I was 16, but they don't, because I think people, if they don't understand what's happening to you, they can't care. People cannot care because they cannot comprehend your pain. And I use that even today for things around me, animals, people, that I think that's how I became somewhat of an empath, like to try to zoom in on people's feelings and look into their eyes. It's funny is I can almost even point out vegans in a crowd or vegetarians, you can just tell there's just something different about them. But, I've been wrong before, I'm a self-proclaimed empath, I guess that's what you want to call it. I have learned to care for others and their pain because of all the pain that I went through. I was suicidal for years. I wanted to die because the pain was so bad. I just didn't want to.
Physical pain.
Yeah, I was physical. Well, it became both physical and the physical. Yes, that's interesting. You should say that because it's so hard to explain what's going on in your head because you want to be here, but you don't want to be here. And this is the division of the flesh and the spirit of like who's making the decisions here. You? Who's you? Well, your spirit is obviously intertwined with your body. So, but your body loves the taste of these foods. Your body loves. Oh man, I love. I've eaten so many animals. It's not even funny, but yeah, I used to love prime rib and pork chops and eggs. I used to be a big egg eater. But I don't. What's really interesting is as I started to study it when I was a kid, why I picked eggs was beyond me, other than the fact that the way that these things digested. And then I found out that eggs had a bunch of salmonella. All eggs that exist have salmonella in them. And I went to a doctor, Dr. Francine Bradley at Davis University here near me in Northern California. Oddly got some meeting with her. I don't even know how it happened. I think at the time I looked it up in the phone book or something. I don't even phone books. I didn't have a internet. So I found her. She had a meeting with me. It was like a late after school, but I remember her telling me all eggs have salmonella in them. It's unavoidable because the salmonella is to protect the baby. Then a light went off in my head. Like, oh, that's it. I've been consuming salmonella all this time, and it's been giving me a headache. It's in my pituitary. My pituitary has been inflamed, and then it cools off, and then it gets smaller and gets big and gets small. So I learned a lot reading these books. One of the things that prompted me to read more was about 22, 21 maybe. I went to the doctor and I had these purple stretch marks on my body, on my arms, and on my stomach. And because I went for an examination, I was huge too. I was bad shape. And she says, why? Well, by the looks of it, you may have Addison's disease, Cushing's disease, or a tumor on your adrenal gland. I'm like, what? Nah. How you become in denial when somebody tells you some kind of weird news like that because how could it happen to you? Those things don't happen to me. But I said, doctor, and as a woman, and I love women doctors, I prefer women dentists, women everything. I just don't trust men, maybe because of my dad. I don't know. But I said, doctor, how do you get rid of the tumor an adrenal gland? And she says, you have to cut your back open, remove a rib, and cut the tumor off of the adrenal gland. I was like, oh my gosh, that's not happening. So I went back to the books, and that's actually what turned me vegan, because I was like, that's not happening. I cut my back open because, in my mind, I thought, once you cut your body open in that fashion, you will become weak. In my mind, you then become more vulnerable. You're not as strong as you were before. You become weak in some ways, in my mind. So I that's when that's actually what turned me vegan, is reading about the adrenal gland, the digestive system. It just made me a better person. Is that enough?
That's yeah. Well, that's a very interesting story. I mean, that as a young child, I mean, that you took control of your life and started reading and no, I know what you mean. I mean, because my parents were from Mexico, right? So we ate a lot of meat here. I mean, they came to the States, and here we are in this country, you know, where meat is just the sign of wealth, right? So meat all the time. It was like, and my stomach as a child, yeah, it didn't sit well with my stomach. And now that I look back on it and think, so, but I did, when I went to Mexico, I did go to a little cat cafe, which was vegan. And so that was nice. But other than that, you know, my family's not vegan. My cousins aren't vegan. You know, I mean, my brother is, but other than that, pretty much no. I mean, it's just not really heard of. And again, just like you, my grandparents, my dad's side, I remember going and visiting Mexico as a child and knowing that there was all that backyard killing too. You know, that was normal.
Yeah. Yes, the backyard killing was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't believe this. I mean, but you ignore it. You don't know. You just think it's normal.
Well, yeah, that's it. That's what they're there for, you know. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad that I've moved on from that. So definitely. Well, tell me about so why do you think anyone can go vegan? And so I think you're helping people a lot because people don't want to give up cookies, right? So if they're like, I'm going to have to give up this and this and this. And so what do you say to those people? I mean, what do you say when someone says, I can't give up cheese?
Oh my gosh. That is one of the hardest. That is one of the most devastating news to give to somebody. I kind of stopped doing it in some ways because they know, because at least my presence says something. My presence says, how's my connection? Is my connection okay still?
It's a little bit now off,
Okay.
but
Okay. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know these connections. So I tell people now there's plenty of alternatives, but then their argument is, you know, it doesn't taste the same, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, you got to give it a chance, you know? So I always look at people's desperation. How desperate are they to change? You know, if there's nothing wrong with you and you don't care about animals, you won't do anything about it. Even though in my mind, spiritually, you should, because of the creation of the way that we were created. It doesn't always happen. It's very hard to convince people these days to stop eating cheese. Believe it or not, I mean, I hear it all the time. So I was thinking about putting it back on internet.
yeah, go ahead and put it back. Yeah. And I'm looking at some of the comments here. Susan Fabricant is saying people crave flavors, taste, seasonings, and not meat. And that's very true. I mean, because just like with anything, you would put seasonings on it. And now I'm waiting for Ray to come back. Susan's also saying she's happy in her vegan cult, which is, yeah, that's funny. I know, but yeah, you're right. People think we're crazy. That's okay. I am crazy and I accept it. You know, I admit it. Okay. And I'm crazy loving animals. So
crazy for the
Sandra. Right. And Sandra's saying vegans carry a healthy amount of anger because of the non-vegan world. Exactly. It's true.
The funny thing is, I just saw a poll. Is it better now? I think I'm not sure if it's better now. I just saw a poll on the number one factor on the reason why people don't become vegan is because of taste and texture. I mean, there's two factors, but those are the main factors are that they don't like the taste and texture are the number one reason they don't try vegan.
Well, a lot of them think, oh, tofu. I mean, who eats tofu right out of a package? I don't. And I would never just open a package of tofu and just start eating it. So that's a very, I mean, that's not the way it works. And a lot of people, I think that.
You know, I am a vegan to the 10th degree. I'm like a 10th degree black belt vegan, so I'll eat tofu out of the package.
All right, well, good. I mean, I cook it up and try to, I don't know. But anyway, but you've got the cookies. So I want to see some cookies. Do you have any behind you? Any packages? I see something. I mean, your screen.
I have, those are, I put in the background cookies. You know, I always have cookies on my desk though.
Ah, yes. Nice.
It's look, these are my favorites. And what's funny is I put these in the package, but I have not opened them because it's deadly and dangerous. Because it's deadly and dangerous. Because once I start, I can't stop. Kind of like I'm an addiction of mine. I'm kind of I'm a sugar addict, no doubt.
Well, cookies are wonderful. It is hard to stop. Let me look at this comment we've got from Susan, and she's saying Butler soy curls have a meaty texture. I've never heard of that. Do you know those, Ray?
Oh yeah. Butler's been around for years. I don't even know. I don't think they may not be around anymore. I know soy curls. Yeah, they're still around.
Well, I've got to check those out. And when I'm talking about the tofu that I just get out of in the thing, and you have to drain it. I don't even squeeze it though. I don't squeeze it. I don't
squeeze it.
No. Anyway,
it's terrible. It's just, you know what? Let me tell you something. Can I call you Mari? I like that name, Mari. It kind of fits on you a little bit, Mari.
Go ahead.
I love your name. It's so pretty. The interesting thing is, so that's a factor that starts to happen in your mind is, so when I first became vegan, what happens is if you starve yourself enough, you'll eat anything. You have to come to a point and say crackers are like the best thing you've ever tasted. You know what I mean? So when I go on fasts, I start to fantasize about food. I don't know if that happens to everybody, but I have to get it out of my mind. So it really becomes a mind control. How desperate are you to change? Is there something going on in your digestive system so bad that you can't stand it anymore? That was what it was for me. For me, it was over. For me, it was, I'm done with the pain. I'm done with the agony. I'm done with the shitty thoughts that I had in my mind. I did not like how I felt. That's what really changed. My change was just all over, straight across the board, disgust, and I was done with it because I didn't want to be that anymore. I didn't want to be angry anymore. I didn't want to feel like crap anymore. And I didn't even know it was partly because I was overweight, but it was only because what was in my blood. So whatever you put into your blood will, and whatever you put in your body has to come out the other side. And you have to take a look at that. I'm sorry to tell, but it's not an easy discussion to have talking about your bathroom habits, but it's how I learned what worked and what didn't work. And that's why my cookies, for example, I have evolved. I put now higher fiber and protein in my cookies because high fiber protein and not as much carbohydrate. I use oat flour now as my primary source of flours because it's just better for you. And so considering that I ate so many cookies, I had to find something better for myself. So I did this. It's all for myself. I didn't care, but then I wanted everyone to try. I wanted everyone to try it. You know what I mean? So that's how it's evolved for me. It's like and it keeps evolving. I'm still evolving. I'm still making new stuff. I'm still coming out with new things. I hate to say this, but even from what I read about a month ago, the vegan population when I started was only 4%. Now it's 6%, which is still, to me, kind of disappointing. But we still have a lot of work to do. I still have a lot of work to do. A lot of people, and I've sold millions of cookies. Millions and millions of people have had cookies from my stuff, but not enough. And there's millions of people being born every day. So you have to understand there's still a lot of work to do. Mari.
Yeah, well, you're doing it. Thanks, Ray. Look, I got a comment from Sandra. Soy curls and other products are so underrated. Barely a thing in Canada, but you might find them at your grocery store. They're definitely in vegan stores. So I need to just look for soy curls. I must be, I don't know how I could be in the dark, but apparently
The soy curls are made in Washington or Oregon, I think it is. They're northern United States, somewhere. Somewhere they make them somewhere. I can't remember, but yes, I know. So, but you know what's funny? I'll tell you something funny. I may have had them of my 30 years once, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I've only may have. I know the bag. I know the container. But you know, dehydrated food has never been my thing. I prefer fresh when I can.
Right. Well,
my tastes have changed.
Butler is based in Oregon, Sandra says.
That's what it is. Yes, they're Oregon. Yes, they're based in Oregon.
Cool.
You try them.
Well,
They're just dehydrated. I know they're good. I prefer. I'm a burger kind of. I'm a taco. Well, you could use them for tacos. Thanks, Sandra, for that. I'm glad Sandra's watching. Sandra's my biggest critic.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hope we're passing. Sandra.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to hear about it later.
Oh my gosh, you're funny. Anyway, all right. So look, here's what I think, that you're an amazing example for your family members, because as they get older, they're going to remember how you turned your life around, and then they're going to come to you for help. That's what I think.
My mom being number one, believe it or not. My mom, just the other day, I had Christmas with her, and I'm a vegetarian. She sat at the table with me and my child. I'm vegetarian, but I can't stop eating cheese. It's still in everything. I'm like, Mom, that is I'm pretty straightforward with my mom. I'm like, Mom, that is the lamest excuse in the world. I go, that is I didn't say stupid, but I said, that is the dumbest thing to say to me. I go, because that's complete BS. You know, I just can't seem to get up. Even my own mom can't give up cheese, but I've inspired her to be vegetarian at the least.
So well, that's good. I mean, that's one more step forward, right? Yeah. No, I mean, but the cheeses really have come a long way, and
by far.
I guess that's something that we needed to be taken to parties. Good vegan cheese, since that's like such a big hurdle for people. Is like, if we go to potlucks, take the vegan cheese. I mean, you're really driving it home here with this cheese talk. So,
you know, they're doing such a great job on cheese these days, but the one major problem with cheeses are their short shelf life. They get moldy so fast. They're very perishable. You know, and that was one of the obstacles that I had when I first started cookies was the cookies that I learned to make at the co-op when I learned to become a vegan baker was the cookies were only lasting a couple of days. So I had to develop them to be longer in order for me to get them in the marketplace. And it was also another barrier was people think our vegan stuff tastes like cardboard or tastes like poop. Not poop, but it doesn't taste good. You know what I mean? And that's what people miss. People miss the taste of all those things. And but like I said, it goes back to how much pain are you in? How much do you care? Those are the two factors. How much pain are you in? How much do you care? You know, if it's worth it if you give it a try and you'll release not just your pain, but the pain of animals of having to go through getting their teats sucked and artificially inseminated and blood pus. Oh, geez, the chemistry. Let me tell you, the chemistry of animal products is 100% disgusting in every shape and
if
form.
if they knew that there would be a lot of change, but again, that's why everything's hidden. I drove by a factory farm the other day, no windows, no nothing. You just don't see what's going on. And anyway, that's another story. But yeah, we're polluting the earth. There's so many reasons, but I mean, I feel sad for the people that can't let go of, that are so sick, but they still can't let go of eating the stuff that's killing them, or they can't see it. Like they just don't, they just, I don't know. I don't even want to say.
They die that way. They die with their cheese in their hand, basically, in some ways. They die never knowing. And of course, doctors are no help. Doctors, they don't care. You know what? The funny thing about doctors, I always tell people, is they're never going to tell you the truth. And the reason why is because they want you to keep coming back as a customer. They want you to be, I think they have good intentions, but they really don't know what's going on. Doctors don't know what the problem is.
Well, they're trying to prescribe, right? They're prescribing. They're not going to the issue. I mean, it's easier to take a pill for the symptoms than, we'll just take a pill for the symptoms for the rest of our lives instead of getting rid of the issue, because getting rid of the issue means changing your eating habits and changing your lifestyle. I mean, it's very sad with these quick fixes, and they're not quick fixes because you're taking the pill and you don't have that symptom, but that you still are eating the thing that's causing damage to other parts of your body, right? I mean, it's still causing the damage. It's still causing the damage.
Badly. It gets worse. It doesn't get better as you get older. It gets worse. You may be able to get away with it while you're young, but as you progress, your body changes. It starts to become less capable of digesting everything because you're wearing on your endocrine system, the thing that protects you. If you did not have an endocrine system, the first thing you ate that had some kind of bacteria on it, you would die. It would eat you from the inside out. That's how scary meat bacteria is. Meat bacteria and viruses and all those things that in meat are the worst. I have studied them, and it freaks me out to this day. I don't even want to physically touch meat. I will never. I have animals, and I have to feed them, this stuff, and I can't stand feeding them. I go to the extreme to make sure that I never touch, because I'm so afraid of bacteria now because I'm super sensitive, but it's just disgusting. It really is. And I feel sorry for people,
Yeah, I feel sorry for them too. And here's Sandra's comment, which is very true. 75 to 90%, 5% of people of color, Black, Indigenous, Asian, Latinx, Ashkenazi Jews are intolerant to dairy. It's hard to fight tradition when it's so deeply ingrained in culture. Yes, it's very true. I mean, I was watching Earthling Ed and they were talking about tradition, right? Well, I mean, tradition, yes. I mean, and culture, I mean, but some traditions are let go of, thank goodness. I mean, we're not living like we did, like 100 or 200 years ago. Surely we've progressed. But in the meat eating, people don't want to let go of that. Then they use the tradition and culture excuse, I mean, well, why don't we go back to, walking without riding horses, which I wouldn't want to do anyway. But you know what I mean? Just get rid of it. If that's tradition, whatever. I mean, it's just like,
That's exactly what's happened in my family. They're so traditional. They won't let go of it. And I see that all the time these days in all cultures. Tradition. Oh, it's tradition to. In fact, when I was a child, when I was maybe 8 or 9, we buried a pig in the ground and stayed with it all night to cook it in the ground because of a tradition. I was like, what the kind of weird shit is that? It's ridiculous that we have to follow you're following the traditions of people who have made a lot of mistakes in this world. That's over for me. So my goal is to take a look at yourself. Look at how you feel. Look at the clarity of your mind. Look at what you eat, and then try to measure it of what you feel like afterwards. You don't feel good. Nobody feels good after they eat crap. Nobody.
No. Exactly like Sandra's saying here, 65% of the entire human population is estimated to be intolerant to dairy.
No,
of course,
it's worse than that.
It probably we're not baby cows. So there's the issue. We're not cows.
It's 100%, Sandra. Sorry to tell you, it's 100%. I don't care what that says. It's wrong. 100%. You're right, because we're not baby cows.
Right. I don't think I'm a baby cow. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, so let's see. Now, I want to hear more about the cookies and where people can get them and how can they buy these cookies, Ray? Your cookies.
Well, I have right now. I don't have too many. I've just relaunched a new label and stuff like that. It's kind of, so you can kind of see it behind me. It looks a little like that. But basically, just if you go to my site, startaveganbusiness.com, you can find them on that page for starters. Otherwise, it's sunflowerbaking.com, spelled like the baking flour, FLOUR. Sunflowerbaking.com. There's a couple of them out there, a few of us that have Sunflower Baking or Bakery, but mine's sunflowerbaking.com. But if you go to startaveganbusiness.com, and the reason why I started that website, because I want people to do better than me. I want people, I'm not going to live forever. I want people to try to come up with new stuff. And if I can help them, make something vegan, I'm there. I want to be there. I want to see what the progression is like. I want to help people be inspired. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm at the point for I don't fear competition. I don't worry about competition. I just want people to do better food wise.
Well, thank you. I want you to make vegan cheeses. That might be your next adventure.
I don't think I'll ever do cheese. It's because it's so perishable. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I can do a kick butt cheese. I can make a cheese you never believe. But guess what? It only lasts a couple of days because it's so good. That's my problem. I love cheese. And I thought about that the other day. In fact, Miyoko's is probably not going to last very much longer. And partly because what's happened with them was, excuse me, is they grew too fast, made too much, and then the returns their spoils are what happened. So when you have such a hugely perishable product, you really shouldn't be reaching out that far. And I learned that very early on as a cookie company. You can't have a perishable product and it won't last for years out there, because the cheeses don't last maybe 4, 5, 6 months at most, maybe at that, So well, cheese. Sometimes when you have me over for dinner, you and your boyfriend, then maybe I'll see what I can do.
Okay, so when you come into Atlanta, then I'll be.
Are you in Atlanta? Yeah. Okay,
yeah. I'm in the Atlanta area. So, but no, it's fun to make cheeses. I make some, and you know what? I was at a potluck dinner with Reverend Richard and people from a church, and Reverend Richard said he wanted to try my cheese. And then when he did, he said it was the best cheese he ever had. So that was very exciting. I need to keep making cheese for him and for others.
It's easy to make on a short scale, impossible to make on a large scale. Impossible. You can spend billions of dollars on it. You're never going to get it to last very long. Daiya cheese has that problem too. They'll spoil in the package if you don't eat it fast enough. Their spoils of cheeses that's why it surprises me people want to even bother getting into the protein and cheese business on a large scale, because it's not possible to physically, without spiking it, which means putting a preservative into it, it's impossible to make it last very long enough for us to enjoy, because the texture changes, it grows mold, and I'm very familiar with all that stuff. And I know all the scientists are too, but it's never going to happen. You can only do it short term. You have to be able to sell it fast enough, and it doesn't sell fast enough. That's the downfall of Miyoko's. Miyoko's was because it's just too much, too fast. They try to make it last long, and they thought they were going to get the sales they were going to get, and they did pretty good for a while. But you know what? Not enough people care. All those people who say I can't live without cheese, well, they can live without cheese. They can live without vegan cheese. They're going to go to the regular cheese before they, unfortunately, go to vegan cheese, because this is what they do, sadly.
Well, my boyfriend loves Daiya cheese, so that's really good. Yeah, and so here's what Susan's saying: I make a tasty cashew cheese spread. Yeah,
I like
I do too, and I like it. Well, I'm going to try some walnut cheese, some different kind of cheeses, just for fun, So,
well,
but yeah. It's always nice to. I mean, and then that gets consumed very quickly. So, but yeah, now that you've said that, I didn't know that, but that's good to know. But well, yeah, now it looks like we're coming up at the end of the hour. And now, again, tell us where we can find you. Tell us, what's the website again?
Startaveganbusiness.com or sunflower, FLOUR, bakingcompany.com.
Got it.
Sunflower,
right, so we can
sunflowerbaking.com. But mainly at startaveganbusiness.com, you'll find my link on there.
veganbusiness.com. And Susan,
startedveganbusiness.com. Oh, Tree Line
Dr.
cheeses.
Bernard.
Yes, I know Tree Line. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I haven't had
Bernard.
Tree Line.
Yeah,
I need to
no,
try
they're
them.
good. Yeah, they're good. They have the same problem. Short shelf life. They don't last very long.
Well, that's very good to know. We'll get these cheeses, but we're going to have to eat them fast. So that's a great excuse. Thank you for that, Ray.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been fun. And you really, I know, keep inspiring your family. I mean, that's wonderful. Just the fact that you turned your life around as a child and took control of your health. I mean, that's a lot to show your family every day. They're seeing that you're a vegan cookie company. I mean, that's a big thing. So
they don't think so.
Well, well, who knows? They probably wouldn't admit it. They might. I mean, we'll see when they change, right?
Subconsciously, they may be thinking, they don't want to admit I'm right. There's no way.
No, but I see it. I see it.
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, thank you so much for this, Ray. This has been fun. And everyone that's been watching, Sandra, Susan, JJ, all these great comments. And well, I'm ready to eat cookies and cheese now. So
now I want a cookie. Believe it or not. That's crazy. Okay, well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Ray. And well, we'll have to come back on again and keep us updated on how your family's doing and when they're changing, because I'm sure they're going to be changing. I'm keeping the faith.
Me too. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Namaste, vegan, everyone. Thank you. Bye, everyone.